the 4 area schools, the 2 elementaries, the middle school and the high school, have been receiving a portion of the cannabis sales tax that the city collects each year. Are you in favor of keeping that going or cutting it altogether?
I'm thinking about always keeping it going, but how we have this set up is it's not set up that they get a dollar amount. You know, I mean, basically we can do 0 this year and we can do 120 next year if all of a sudden things get better. So we need to look at the budget and remember,
because it's based on a percentage,
this
right?
this was my, originally I proposed this. I got shot down 4-1. You know, and we ended up, then I sat down with Dave Ballweg and we came up with a good thing, and we ended up passing it 5-all. But there was never a dollar figure set in stone. That year we gave 60,000, and for some reason everybody has it in their head that it's 60,000. It's always going to be there. So until we see what the budget is, we may do 0 this year. And that, you know, breaks my heart. But we may have to do that because this is just something we're trying to do to help the schools out as best we can. And I am not opposed to, and when I went to a CF meeting, and I told them at that time, if we cannot, you never know. And that was about 6 months ago. I says, we may not be able to give you anything. We may be able to give you 300,000. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's why when we came up with this alternative, instead of giving 1%, we said we'll decide each year by proposals that they give us.
Yeah, that's,
So
you're right. I didn't remember that it wasn't a hard number.
It's not.
Either in dollars or percentage.
It's not. It's just completely open. I mean, if we didn't get proposals we didn't like, we could say, sorry, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
But my desire is to see a lot more than that, because I think the schools are where the city's going to get better and better. So, with that being said, if it's 0 this year, it's 0. But that doesn't mean, I never want to stop putting that in our budget, ever.
Okay.
But we need to be flexible. That's why it was set up that way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what are your thoughts on future funding of Mesquite Regional Economic Development? And should the current council that you're part of reduce its funding, increase its funding, or dissolve the organization altogether?
You know, right now we're going to have to reduce funding. There's no question about it. It's not, we can't increase our funding right now. There's no question. It has to be reduced. And I guarantee you that will be part of, if it's not, I'm going to scratch my head hard, because we have not seen, they have not given us recommendations at this point. But I guarantee you that will be a recommendation, is to lower that. Do you know, this last time that we talked about MRED, there was a really good thought put on the table. And in order for us to really know that we're getting the best for what we can, I'm not in favor of taking it in-house. I'm not, because there has to be some confidentiality with the people that they're working with, and if it's in-house, we lose that confidentiality. And so I'm not in favor of that. I mean, necessarily, if we're going to do this, I still think it needs to be outside of the purview of the city.
Okay.
So that there can be some confidentiality kept, which I think is vital. I really do, when you're talking about this type of an organization. But there was some thought process of letting other people come in and take some stabs at it, as far as making a presentation on taking over our Mesquite Regional Economic Development. And I've actually had a chat with somebody who seriously is interested in it, who has a really good background and has helped cities up in Utah County and places grow immensely. So
Okay.
I think we need to keep our options open. We need to keep an open mind as to whether or not we feel like, every year I look at it, and every year it's, do we want to keep this? And I think adding this other aspect to it, is there somebody better that can do more, I think is an important part. So we need to listen to that too.
Yeah.
I really like Colton. I really like the organization. I think we have a great board there. But that doesn't mean it's the perfect answer.
Okay.
But cutting right now, absolutely. Okay.
Okay. Should more of the city's dollars, you alluded to this a little bit, should more of the city's budget dollars be spent on income producing and business generating activities like new sports fields, amphitheaters, concert venues, things like that?
Yes, and we do, but it needs to be done in the right way. Right
And
now,
what is the right way?
right now, putting more sports fields in is not an answer. And the reason for that is because when every sports field is full, we don't even come close to the amount of hotel rooms we need. They're staying in the Walmart parking lot. They're staying at, at the parking lots of the venues. They're in St. George. A lot of them can't get rooms. And the other part of that too is it takes a toll on other parts of the city too. And now I'm in golf, so I get to be able to talk a little bit about it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's take great examples, President's Day. Beautiful day. Saturday is the day I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Saturday before President's Day. Gorgeous day. Wonderful temperatures. The rooms are running up at Holiday Inn at close to $300 a night. The problem is that they book them so far in advance that golf, when we should have been closer to 200 to 220 players, we were at 80 to 90 players. So it helped one area, but it didn't help the casinos because they're going to be full anyway. It didn't necessarily help at that point because of the fact that we don't have enough hotel rooms. So
which
okay.
comes first? This has always been a chicken
Easy.
and the egg.
It's not for me.
Okay.
It's hotel rooms first because we can build fields in half the time they can build hotel rooms. And I've told Andre this, and I've told Anthony this, that if we got more hotel rooms, I would be leading the charge with a whip to build more fields. And we can do that. We've got the property. We would jump on it in a heartbeat. We'd bond. We'd do what we needed to do. I would make sure that we got the fields built because it's a lot faster. So it's not a chicken and an egg thing for me because we can build fields a lot faster.
Okay.
A lot faster.
Yeah.
So, now, on the other side of this, if right now we're looking at building something, I think we need to build some things that would help us bring people down through the summer.
Like what?
Well, there was one point they were talking about a field house. Whether or not that was even logical or not, I don't know. But if we can do something that we could bring people in for the summer, that would make huge differences on even the businesses in town. Because right now, they can't afford to carry themselves through the summer.
Right. Even without the COVID mess.
Oh, do you know what? You're going to get me on a tangent here, but I'm going to tell you right now, people think that, okay, it can be over in May. Because of the fact that, like for instance, in golf and with the hotels, 40% of our revenues are between March and May.
Yes.
Actually, a little more than that. So we're going to go out of the season when we should have made money, and we've saved up money to get through the summer. And this is restaurants and everything. So now we're only going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And the first time we're going to see anything start to pick up at all, at the very most, is October. And that's the very tip. So we're going to continue to lose all the way to October. So the very minimum you can see before we even start to come close to picking things up is probably next year at this time.
Yes.
And I don't know that everybody understands that. They think once we're out of this, we're done. Mm-mm.
It's a long recovery.
It is. It is. It's going to be a long recovery. A lot longer than people think.
Yeah. The other question I have to change because of you is, if elected, what would be the one thing you would most like to work on first? So I'm going to change that around a little bit and say you've worked on quite a few projects. Tell us, over the last 3 years that you've been on council, basically 4, what is one or two things you worked on that you're most proud of, most happy with?
Do you know, there's a lot of things that we've worked on together as a council, and I think that's important. Personally, I was really excited to get some of this marijuana money for the schools, because we kept it away from the district, and it went directly to helping kids, and I really like that. The other thing that I've been working on, and I started earlier on, and it's taken a long time, and everything that we do is tied to workforce housing. It really is. And I know that right now, it is the number one thing on the council's mind. It has been for me for a long time.
And we're going to get to that.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that and then we'll get into it.
Okay.
But that is the number one thing, because everything that we do in the city, whether it's fields, whether it's rooms, whether it's everything, and even businesses coming in, if we want businesses coming in, is going to be dependent on this, everything.
Yeah.
So that's the number one issue. I mean, as far as helping, I think that we as a council got together, Dave put forth a bill that allowed, because we were hearing that a lot of people were not able to come to get through the city as well with some of the things. And we as a council put through that if they didn't like what was happening in development services, they could turn around and come to the council and get it approved. And I can give you some very specific examples of that, but that have been key to some of the businesses. Like, you know, the Wendy's, that travel lodge, I mean, that
Yes.
travel center. If that had not been in place, we would not have been able to do that. So we worked on that. There's been a lot of things like that we've done that have helped, but a couple of things. Does that?
That's great.
We'll start there. Okay.
Okay.